Trevor Henderson is widely known for creating some of the internet's most iconic creatures, but beyond the well-known names lies a much deeper collection of forgotten and lesser-known entities. Hidden throughout old posts, obscure images, and rarely discussed designs are creatures just as disturbing as the ones most people recognize, yet far fewer have ever heard of them. In this video, we'll be taking a closer look at some of Trevor Henderson's most obscure entities, breaking down their appearance, behavior, and the danger they may represent. Some are mysterious, some are grotesque, and others feel like they were never meant to be found at all. With that being said, let's take a closer look. Cartoon Dog is an obscure Trevor Henderson entity often discussed in connection with Cartoon Cat, though according to Trevor, the two are distinct beings that share some kind of connection. It appears as a tall, humanoid dog-like creature designed in the style of old rubber hose animation, with a stretched black body, smooth rubber-like skin, oversized white eyes, and dilated black pupils. Its arms are long, thin, and dangling, reaching all the way down to its feet, while its white gloves add to the false cartoon mascot appearance. However, this playful design is immediately corrupted by its wide mouth, gaping white teeth, and visible gums, creating a disturbing contrast between vintage animation and something far more predatory. Because of its connection to Cartoon Cat, Cartoon Dog may share similar traits or behavior, though this remains uncertain. Cartoon Cat is described as a malevolent cosmic parasite, ancient, rotten, and driven by violence. Rather than being a simple creature, it appears to use cartoon-like forms as false bodies, filtering itself through old media and creative output as a way to manifest into our world. If Cartoon Dog follows the same pattern, then its dog-like appearance may not be its true form, but only the current shape it has chosen or been forced to use. The danger surrounding Cartoon Dog is extreme. Trevor has implied that encountering it would most likely result in death. And if its nature is anything like Cartoon Cat's, then it may possess a wide range of supernatural traits. Its rubber hose body suggests malleability, allowing it to bend, stretch, distort, or possibly change shape in unnatural ways. It may also be able to interact with audiovisual media, generate eerie old-fashioned music, and move between forms or spaces in ways that do not follow normal physical rules. While many of these abilities are based on Cartoon Cat's known traits, the connection between them makes the comparison hard to ignore. Cartoon Dog is unsettling because it hides behind something familiar. Its body resembles a forgotten cartoon character, something that should be harmless, nostalgic, and even funny. But beneath that image is something ancient and hostile, using a playful shape as a mask. And if Cartoon Dog truly shares even a fraction of Cartoon Cat's nature, then it's not just another monster. It is a form of something much older, much hungrier, and far more dangerous than it appears. The Piecemeal Men are a group of entities depicted as small, stocky humanoids that resemble a mixture of government agents, undertakers, and old-fashioned debt collectors. They stand short and broad, moving on two legs while dressed in dark formal clothing that gives them an oddly official appearance. Each wears a slightly deformed white mask, with small eye holes and a narrow slit where a mouth should be, concealing any true features beneath. Their outfits consist of black fedoras, long cloaks hanging to the knees, and tall black boots, giving them the look of figures who arrive for business rather than violence. The most notable item they carry is a rusty handsaw, one held by each entity as though it were a standard tool of the trade. Despite the crude appearances of these saws, they are used with unnatural precision. The Piecemeal Men reportedly enter homes at night and remove limbs, fingers, or joints from sleeping victims in a clean and efficient manner. By morning, the victim discovers the missing body part with no blood, no pain, and often a strange sensation that the limb had never existed at all. The only sign that they were ever there is a business card identifying them by name. This suggests their abilities go far beyond physical intrusion. They appear capable of suppressing pain, erasing blood loss, and possibly altering memory or bodily perception so the victim cannot properly process what was taken. Reports also indicate they can remove small body parts with impossible accuracy, even in difficult positions, implying extreme dexterity or supernatural control over matter itself. Their actions are methodical, organized, and repeated enough to imply a structured operation rather than random attacks. Trevor references room for growth in the organization, suggests they may expand their numbers or recruit in some unknown way, making them less like isolated monsters and more like a functioning entity network. That idea makes them especially unsettling. They do not act like predators, but employees carrying out assigned work. The piecemeal men are terrifying because they treat mutilation like paperwork. They arrive quietly, take exactly what they came for, and leave you altered before you even realize anything was missing. Smiling owls, also known as owl things, are predatory species created by Trevor Henderson, taking the form of seemingly ordinary owls, altered into something deeply unnatural. At first glance, they resemble normal birds, but their faces are replaced by a grotesque human-like smile. Instead of eyes or a beak, they display rows of crooked white teeth set into a fixed grin, with mismatched numbers of teeth on each jaw. Their feathers vary in color, appearing in pale shades of teal, blue, or light brown, giving them an oddly soft appearance that sharply contrasts with the horror of their faces. These entities are invasive predators of unknown origin, known to hunt cooperatively rather than alone. They are especially dangerous to lost hikers, campers, or anyone wandering through wooded areas after dark. Rather than immediately attacking, they rely on patience and strategy, working together to lure prey deeper into isolated areas before surrounding them. Once they strike, they swarm victims in a frenzy described as similar to piranhas, rapidly overwhelming and consuming larger targets despite their size. Their most disturbing trait is advanced audio mimicry. Smiling owls repeat words and phrases learned from previous victims, using broken or distorted speech to bait new targets. They may call for help, whisper directions, or mimic familiar human voices just well enough to confuse someone in the dark. This causes victims to move off course, investigate sounds, or lose their sense of direction until escape becomes difficult. Reports describe them gathering in trees, speaking from above, or landing on vehicles and whispering for people to open doors. Their presence also seems to distort the atmosphere in the area, with forests feeling stranger and more threatening once they appear. Even before an attack begins, the constant sounds of voices in the trees and movement overhead create panic, making poor decisions more likely. Whether they hunt for food or simply for cruelty remains unknown. Smiling owls are dangerous because they weaponize trust. They do not chase first, they call, imitate, and wait for you to answer. And if you hear a voice in the woods where no one should be, it may be already too late. The stranger is an entity portrayed as a humanoid figure associated with getting lost in large, empty commercial spaces. It appears as a thin, slightly curved being concealed beneath a long black cloak, with an oversized round head featuring pale, wrinkled skin and exaggerated cartoon-like eyes. These eyes seem crudely painted on, with uneven pupils that give the face an artificial and unsettling look. Small human-like ears protrude from the sides, matching the same warped texture as the rest of the head. Later depictions strongly suggest this face is only a mask, hiding something far worse beneath. When partially removed, the false face reveals a second layer beneath it, an extremely wrinkled, leathery, damp-looking visage with a massive frowning mouth lined with many sharp teeth and exposed gums. The full features beneath the mask are never completely shown, implying that what is hidden may be more disturbing than what is visible. If the outer face is indeed crafted as a disguise, it suggests a creature intelligent enough to create a lure designed to appear strange, but harmless enough to approach. The stranger is linked to people becoming lost in empty warehouses, department stores, and malls. It is described as a patron saint of getting lost in sprawling retail spaces, and of those who would like you to stay that way. This implies that it may not simply inhabit these places but influence them. Encounters suggest it follows or stalks people who become disoriented in such locations, though whether it directly kills victims or feeds on their confusion remains unclear. Its motives appear alien, symbolic, or deliberately incomprehensible. Its most notable ability is inducing vertigo and disorientation, especially near escalators or within maze-like interiors. Victims may struggle to navigate, becoming increasingly confused, and continue to wander deeper into empty buildings. Whether this is psychic influence or an aura emitted by the entity is unknown. Combined with the possibility that its mask is meant to draw people closer, the stranger may rely on confusion first, then proximity. The stranger is terrifying because it doesn't need to chase. It only needs you to lose your sense of direction. And once you do, it may be waiting at the end of the aisle. The angel is an entity depicted as a towering skeletal humanoid whose appearance blends religious symbolism with severe bodily distortion. Its head resembles a human skull with the features fused into a rounded shape, split by a crack running from the top of the head down toward the nostrils. The eye sockets, nose, and mouth are hollow voids, giving the face an empty, lifeless stare. One ear sits unnaturally low to the side of the head, formed from the same bone-like material as the rest of its body. Its torso appears as a calcified mass of flesh and bone, resembling an incomplete ribcage grown together in unnatural ways. Its most recognizable feature is a structure extending from both sides of the torso, an inverted secondary ribcage that spreads outward like twisted wings. These branching limbs can separate, stretch, and grip walls or door frames like arms, often framing the creature as it stands in entrances or narrow spaces. Depending on the sighting, these wing-like structures vary dramatically in size and shape, sometimes small and compact, other times extending several meters outward. Combined with a pronounced spinal column and thin, bony human-like legs, the creature's silhouette appears both fragile and imposing. The angel is associated with repeated sightings and apparent stalking behavior. Captions linked to its appearance suggest certain witnesses have encountered it more than once, implying that it may return to specific individuals over time. Those who claim to have seen it often describe receiving vivid visions or prophetic dreams afterward, with some insisting they were touched by something divine. Despite its horrifying appearance, witnesses frequently report a spiritual or ethereal presence surrounding it, as though it is not entirely of this world. Its true nature remains uncertain. One theory suggests that the angel may be a genuine supernatural messenger, supported by accounts of future visions and symbolic imagery such as halos used in related depictions. Another theory is that it is a terrestrial predator exploiting religious imagery to manipulate human perception, disguising itself as something sacred in order to gain trust or access. The physical marks reportedly left behind after encounters suggest something tangible and earthly rather than purely spiritual. The angel is dangerous because it blurs the line between revelation and deception. Whether divine being or calculated mimic, it appears before people, leaves them changed, and vanishes before its purpose is understood. The god of roadkill is a Trevor Henderson entity portrayed as a massive cryptid associated with death on highways and the suffering caused by vehicles. It is described as a being at least the size of a minivan, making it one of the more physically imposing, lesser-known creatures in Trevor Henderson's work. Its head is pale and mask-like, with a long, narrow beak that tapers into a needle-like point. Aside from a pair of crude black eyes seemingly drawn onto the surface, the face lacks any natural features, strongly suggesting the head may be more of a false shell than a true skull. The rest of its body is gaunt and deeply emaciated, colored a raw crimson red as if skinned or exposed. A long neck connects to a visible rib cage and extended spinal column, but the lower body appears incomplete. ending without a pelvis or legs. Because of this, the creature is believed to move by dragging itself across roads using elongated skeletal arms. This method of movement would make encounters especially disturbing, as such a large being would crawl slowly and silently across asphalt like a wounded carcass given life. The entity is associated with intense grief and rage towards drivers who strike animals on the road. While the exact motive is unclear, it is implied that the god of roadkill mourns the countless animals killed by traffic and may guide their spirits into the afterlife. At the same time, that sorrow appears tied to vengeance. It is believed to cause drivers who harmed animals, whether intentionally or by accident, to lose control of their vehicles, leading to crashes or fatal wrecks. Unlike many Trevor Henderson creatures driven purely by hunger or cruelty, this entity appears motivated by judgment. Its violence may be selective, directed towards those it deems responsible. That gives it a strange duality, part mourner and part executioner. The theater patron is an entity associated with an old cinema known as Starliner Cinema, where repeated disappearances eventually caused people to stop attending altogether. Even after the theater's decline, sightings reportedly continued in the surrounding area and within the basement tunnels beneath the building. According to local accounts, whatever was responsible for the missing persons never left. It simply remained below, waiting for more people to return. The creature is described as a disoriented humanoid standing approximately 3.1 meters tall, while weighing around 127 kilograms, giving it a tall yet unnaturally thin frame. It possesses a disproportionately large, elongated bald head that immediately separates it from anything human. Its face is heavily disfigured, with eyes positioned incorrectly across its face, a stretched nose, no visible external ears, and an enormous mouth. The combination of its height, malformed proportions, and unnatural facial structure would make even a brief glimpse deeply unsettling. The theater patron appears to follow a disturbing set of rules. It is commonly associated with punishing those who make noise during films, especially disruptive audience members. Witnesses describe hearing a sharp shushing sound as an initial warning. If ignored, the warnings escalate, eventually ending in disappearance, severe injury, or death. In this sense, the entity behaves less like a random predator and more like something enforcing silence through fear. However, it is not limited to noisy audience members. Reports suggest it also hunted workers after hours, particularly janitors cleaning the theater at night. In these cases, victims were stalked through empty aisles, hallways, or basement passages before vanishing entirely. Some missing people were allegedly found only after the movie ended, implying it may keep victims hidden nearby before disposing of them. The theater patron is terrifying because it turns a place meant for entertainment into a hunting ground. In a dark room full of strangers with everyone facing forward and staying quiet, it becomes very easy for something to sit among you unnoticed. The three red strings, also known as the mannequins, are a group of entities defined by one constant rule. There is always three of them. No matter what happens, the trio remains complete. They appear as thin humanoid corpses or mannequin-like bodies suspended from crimson strings that rise endlessly upward into the sky. If they appear indoors, those strings continue through the ceiling, carving paths through whatever material is above them as they move. Their existence feels less like living creatures and more like objects being manipulated by something far beyond view. Their appearance varies across sightings, but several traits remain constant. The bodies are pale, emaciated, and often damaged, sometimes resembling flayed corpses missing organs, skin, or limbs. Other depictions show them more like mannequins or wooden puppets, with ball-jointed limbs and artificial proportions. They often lack heads entirely, with red strings emerging directly from the neck. Some versions show missing hands or legs, exposed stomach cavities, or bodies crudely pieced together from mismatched parts, suggesting their forms are unstable or frequently replaced. Their movement is especially unnatural, but rather than walking normally, they hang limp while the strings drag them forward, allowing gravity to swing and twist their bodies as they advance. They're said to move extremely quickly when they are not being observed, rapidly changing position the moment attention is broken. This makes direct tracking nearly impossible, as they may appear far closer each time someone looks back at them. Their bodies can also contort in impossible ways, adjusting joints and posture without needing to follow normal anatomy. The greatest danger comes from one of the strings is cut. If a member of the trio is severed or destroyed, the remaining two become violently aggressive and seek to restore their number. They will construct a replacement using nearby materials, most often the body of whoever caused the damage. Victims are mutilated and reshaped into a new mannequin-like member, while discarded body parts including severed heads are left behind. Once complete, the new third member joins the group as if it had always been there. It is unclear whether the bodies themselves are the true entities or if the red strings are the real intelligence controlling them. If so, the hanging figures may be nothing more than disposable puppets. Some of Trevor Henderson's most disturbing creations aren't the ones everyone knows about. They're the ones buried in older posts, barely discussed, and left open to interpretation. The obscure entities often feel stranger, more unpredictable, and in many cases, far harder to understand than the famous ones. What makes these creatures so unsettling is that many of them don't follow clear rules. Some imitate, some stalk, some punish, and others seem to exist for reasons we may never fully understand. That mystery is what gives them lasting impact. The feeling that there's always more happening behind the image that we can actually see. And maybe that's the point. The less explained they are, the more your mind fills in the gaps. And sometimes what you imagine is worse than anything shown directly. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. And let me know what creatures you want covered next. And until next time, friends.